A new book out this summer, Irreversible Damage, by author Abigail Schreier, documents a transgender trend you might not have heard of: cluster outbreaks among female friendship groups in middle, high school, and college. It's a topic that you think many parents would want to read about, but Amazon has decided it's not appropriate. Amazon informed Schreier's publisher, Regnery, that it won't run a paid ad for the book and explained that the book, quote, contains elements that may not be appropriate for all audiences, which may include ad copy, book content that infers or claims to diagnose, treat, or question sexual orientation. And we are joined now by author Abigail Schreier. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me on.
What is your response to Amazon saying that it won't allow a publisher's ad for your book?
Well, one of outrage. I mean, this is the new anorexia. Girls in distress are deciding with their friends that the source of their distress must be gender dysphoria. They've decided it's severe discomfort in their biological sex. Now, we know that that isn't so because it doesn't look like gender dysphoria. But my book explores both the medical, the psychological, and the cultural conditions that allowed this to skyrocket among this population. And exploring those risks is now something we're not allowed to do. We're not allowed to assess teenage girls' health, according to Amazon.
Yeah, it's really a head scratcher. How much of a setback is it for the book to not be able to have this paid ad?
It's hard. You know, I hear from parents all the time because parents are aware of this because they see 2% of high school students out of nowhere now identify as transgender. This was something that always afflicted a tiny, tiny percentage of the population, 0.01%, so 1/100%. And now it's 2% of high school students, and most of them are female. So parents are looking for guidance. They're looking for a book to help explain what is going on. And when they enter search terms to find out about this, what they find are a number of books promoting and celebrating young women to making this transition, but they won't allow an ad for a book skeptical that this is doing them any good.
So what kind of response are you getting to your book overall? How would you, I'm sure different groups are responding in different ways.
Right. So overall, it's been wonderful. So many parents. I get calls from parents every day. Parents who will tell me, you know, from the toniest girls' schools in Manhattan to, you know, public schools across the country, telling me that 15 or 20 or 30% of their daughter's 7th grade class has now decided it is LGBTQ and very often transgender. These are numbers that don't make any sense unless you entertain the possibility of social contagion. And we've seen this with teenage girls, and they're predominantly white girls. They're in distress, and the ways that they explain that distress might have been in prior generations demonic possession, or I'm so fat, and then today it's I'm so gender dysphoric.
Have you gotten any other pushback other than from Amazon and the paid ad?
Sure. I mean, there's a massive campaign underway to get my publisher to drop my book.
Okay. This transgender social contagion that you have written about in girls, where do you see it going? And I'm wondering if perhaps the pandemic might slow it down.
You know, I've heard both things. So part of this has been fueled by a lot of things. One of them is social media, because there's so many influencers online. And these influencers, because teenagers spend so much time online and so little time with each other in person, these influencers have a huge impact on these girls' lives and convincing them that testosterone will cure all of the problems that they're feeling. So when they come home and they're with their parents, if they are not online all the time, very often these girls will desist. They'll stop saying they're transgender and they'll return sort of to themselves. But if these girls come home, you know, another thing is if they're away from their peers, they tend to desist. But if they are still online all the time, the problem does get worse.
All right. Well, fascinating topic. Abigail Schreier, author of Irreversible Damage. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.